Sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay. I'm going to roll right in. Thank you, ladies, for joining me on the Bold Like Her podcast. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Kim. We're so
Sure.
excited to be here.
Yep, we're missing
Having
one.
us.
She's going to join us later. Vanessa will be with us, right?
Yes, she'll be joining us shortly.
Okay. I found you guys because of another connection that we all have, right?
Mhm.
And
Big
that was,
day besties.
yeah. How did you find them?
Vanessa actually was the one to find them.
Yeah.
You know
And
more about that?
I think she stumbled upon them on Instagram.
not
And it
surprising.
was months when we had already knew we were going to run the Boston Marathon. She was like, "Hey, what do you think about having them, come join us and see if they are available to, shoot us the day of?" So
Yeah. So
awesome.
your big day for the Big Day Besties was
Yes.
running this year's Boston Marathon. And just for some context here, what they do is they'll capture people on, whatever it is, their special event or their special day, and make posts and do things as they're happening live. And I was getting ready to interview them and was doing some just research on them, and I had seen what they were doing with you, and I was just blown away by your story. I know it's been on the news with the when the marathon was coming our way, because you have a really special story, and who you run for and why you run. So why don't we get into that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the three of us ran for Dana-Farber on the Dana-Farber Marathon Challenge team. Actually, at one point in time, everyone in our family has been a Dana-Farber patient. So when we were making the decision to run for Boston, it was very clear there was only one team that we knew that we could fundraise astronomical amounts of money for, because we were very passionate about the cause. And we know when we want to do something, we want to do it big.
Yeah, you sure do. So as some background on you guys, your family has been hit by cancer in many ways. I know your mom is a two-time cancer survivor, right?
Yes, she is.
Yeah. And I think when you were younger, you already started to witness people in your family being affected, being diagnosed. And so it was kind of in your lives from a very early age, right?
Yes. So hi, I'm Kristina, and
Yes.
I know it's confusing with three different voices happening, but I'm
Thank
the
you for
oldest
that.
out of the three of us. And I feel like so there's also an age gap. I'm 10 years older than Stephanie, who's on right now, and Vanessa, who's joining, I'm 7 years older than her. And cancer came into my life when I was about 7 years old, when my aunt was first diagnosed. And then my mom was diagnosed when I was 10. And that's when Stephanie came into my life, shortly around the same time. And I watched my mom and her sisters kind of battle with their health. And I always was living in fear for my mother's health. And doctors didn't exactly know at the time, that they didn't quite make the connection that all three sisters had the BRCA1 mutation. So what that means is that when you have the BRCA1 mutation, you have an 87% risk of breast cancer, and somewhere between a 40 and 60% risk of ovarian cancer. So the numbers are kind of staggering.
Yeah.
And at the time when my mom had breast cancer, oncologists were not even thinking about how this would impact our generation, because there were conversations about, cancer will always advance and you never know, so don't worry about it. And by the time my mom was told, by the time your girls are making decisions for their health, things could be like vastly different, so we won't go down that road. And although things have changed and they have progressed, not enough to say we don't have to worry about it. So we knew by the time we were able to start thinking about our breast health, we knew that it was something that we had to think of very seriously, because our aunt had passed away from ovarian cancer, and it's originated in her breast. So she had breast cancer twice, ovarian cancer, and she eventually succumbed to the disease after battling for 11 years.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry. And you've also then went in to see, at what age were you when you checked to see if you had the BRCA1 gene?
So actually so my aunt passed away in 2005, and in 2006, I actually had melanoma, and I dots, like red flags went up big time and dots were connected that it's something that I needed to start thinking about differently with my health. And to be quite honest, breast cancer wasn't on my radar at 20.
Mhm.
It wasn't something that I was really thinking about. And I will say this, when you're ready to take action with your health, that's when you should think about getting tested, because if you're not willing to take action, and I'll get into like what that means,
Yeah.
but if you're not willing to take action with your health, you need to understand that knowledge is power only if you're ready for it. And it's okay if you're not ready to know yet. So you have to be thinking like, when I know this information, I have to be able to do something about it. And
Right.
so inaction is also an action too.
Right, because I think a lot of people are afraid to know information, and is why they don't go for tests.
Yes. So I would be happy to explain a little bit, since I was the first one to go through testing, and all three of us have. And when Vanessa pops in, she can say like what motivated her, and Steph can share her story. But
Yep.
with me, I actually stumbled upon my testing. It wasn't something that my doctor was really pushing or wanted to know, but I was talking to my doctor around the age of 24 about birth control. Because of our family's strong history in cancer and ovarian cancer, there was lots of controversial, really different at the time, controversial, a lot of controversies around what type of birth control to go on, if I should do an oral contraceptive, if I shouldn't. And so I was like, I just want to know, how high is my risk? And it wasn't something that I was thinking about. I did not have genetic counseling. It was something that was done on a whim without any guidance. And I would not recommend taking that route. I highly recommend going to, if you're local, to Dana-Farber, because I was met with a genetic counselor eventually when I did get testing through Dana-Farber. But initially, not having guidance and just knowing that I had to automatically step into action was really difficult. So stepping into action means that once you test positive, you will either have to start a surveillance program, or you're ignoring it, but you wouldn't want to because your risk is so high. So what it means when you have the BRCA mutation, Kim, you and I, we both have the BRCA1 gene. You have a BRCA gene, I have a BRCA gene, but when my gene's mutated, so what that means is that every day when my cells divide, they need to repair, and my cells cannot repair the same way yours can, which is why I'm more likely to have a tumor in my breast or ovaries. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
it's easier to understand once you see that, like, you can either inherit your BRCA gene from your mother or your father. And this gets often misdiagnosed, or not even thinking about testing, if you could potentially inherit your BRCA gene from your father. We inherited ours from our mother, so it was kind of crystal clear. But if there is a family history of breast and ovarian cancer from, let's say, your father's sisters or mother, and they were diagnosed relatively at a younger age, it's something that people should start thinking about. Am I a candidate for genetic testing? And at Dana-Farber, it's definitely the place to go. So to answer those questions for you.
Yeah, they seem to be very proactive there, right?
Yes. And they're like, I feel like I've been everywhere since I had the ability to go to all different hospitals, and they're the best when it comes to cancer because it's all they do. And they focus on also the social emotional support, which is very rare.
Yeah.
I was treated like an individual. So I was 25 when I tested positive. And I think that's a good age as far as within your breast health. And is Vanessa jumping in soon? Did we get a notification?
Nope, not yet.
Oh, okay. So I think that when you're 25, it's kind of a good time if you're curious, if you're ready, because that's when typically you start thinking about your breast health. Mammograms are now recommended for at 40, and you want to start thinking about it 10 years before 40. And so your options when you test positive are surveillance, certain drugs to put you into a chemical menopause, or double mastectomy, surgical prevention. So
Right.
the only way that you can reduce your risk is through surgery.
And that's what you opted for.
I did, but it took me some time. I wasn't ready right away. It really was something that I actually had a scare, and that's what propelled me to say, I never wanted, if I continue surveillance, eventually it's going to lead to having to either have breast cancer or get pulled into the other room, is how I always refer to it.
Wow. Yeah.
After a mammogram. And I knew that that was something that I wanted to avoid. And I always wanted my children. I had a daughter when I was 30, and I wanted my daughter to never have to fear for my life the way that I feared for my mom's.
Yeah. So how old were you when you did get the double mastectomy?
I was 4 days after my 30th birthday.
Okay. And was it at that time? I know you started to get into running. Was it at post that surgery that you decided to run Chicago?
Actually, before, right
okay.
before. So I think it was really funny. I always refer to it as like the year in Boston when we had so much snow, we were all miserable and didn't know what to do in
2015. Yeah.
Yes.
We can all remember it.
Yeah. The snow was piled higher than the stop signs. And it was that February, I actually was doing a self-breast exam and found a lump. And so, just so everybody knows that when you find a lump in your breast, or if you ever find a lump in your breast, 80% of lumps are actually not breast cancer, but it's important that if you have a lump that feels like a frozen pea or larger than the size of an eraser tip, and it persists for more than 2 weeks, you absolutely should go see your doctor. And you need to know that when you do self-breast exams, you're knowing what your normal feels like. So you're doing self-breast exams at least once or twice a month to know what, especially like it's a good time in the shower, lift your arm up, feel around. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I was like sprinkling in the things that I want people to know if they're listening to this.
It's good information. And I know that a lot of us have heard it before, but you can't drive it home enough, right?
Yes, exactly. So if you know your own normal, you know, and I knew what my normal felt like, and I felt something that felt new, and it was not normal. So it felt like a hard frozen pea, and I knew, and I had the knowledge and said, wait a minute. And that day, because I was having under surveillance, I had already been doing surveillance for 4 years since I was BRCA positive. I called it was at the time, gynecologist. She sent me up to have a emergency mammogram and breast MRI. And that day I could see actually a tumor on the screen. Or a solid mass is how they referred to it initially. And when I saw that solid mass, they immediately said, we need to biopsy this. So I had a breast needle biopsy. A breast surgeon came in and they took a biopsy and then inserted a little metal clip so that every time I had my mammogram going forward, they would know that that was something that they had already looked at and seen. So it took over 10 days to find out those results.
Because of the snow and all this. Yeah.
Yes. Because of the snow, the lab had shut down and I felt like I was going crazy. And during that time I said, if this is positive and I have breast cancer, well, we'll have to just deal with it as it comes. But if it doesn't, I know I'm ready to have a double mastectomy. I have to do it. And during that time, I started Googling frantically, high risk for breast cancer, but doesn't have breast cancer, high risk. And so I was putting it out there, like, I'm not going to have breast cancer. I'm not going to have breast cancer. And I came across an organization called Bright Pink. And Bright Pink supports high-risk women. It no longer exists. And actually a weird full circle moment is Bright Pink was actually acquired by Dana-Farber.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. It was a really wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And all of their tools are now acquired by Dana-Farber. So it's really wonderful. But they're a Chicago-based organization that supported women. And I knew right away when I Googled them, their ability to join their team for the Chicago Marathon came up. So I said, you know what? I found out that my tumor was actually benign and I did not have breast cancer. But I knew that I was ready for a mastectomy. And I thought, if I can run a marathon, I can confidently walk into an operating room for a mastectomy. And my sister, Vanessa, joined us. And
when you said that, she actually did.
Yeah. Hey, Vanessa.
There she is.
Your timing was impeccable.
Your timing was so impeccable. We were just talking about how you supported me for the Chicago Marathon and said that I was not be running alone.
Here I am.
Hi, Vanessa. Yeah. So just getting you up to speed. We were just talking about Kristina and Stephanie. We did not forget about you. We're going to chat with you as well.
Yeah.
But just talking about how the organization Bright Pink came to Kristina's radar and wanted to run for them, and Chicago was the place to do it. Were you were here in Boston though, but you heard about it?
Yes.
Yeah, we were in Boston at the time.
So Kristina decides she's going to run it and ropes you in as well.
Yeah, I believe we had some wine. And I was like, sure, I'll do it.
I guess we're running a marathon.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
I
Wow.
just graduated college, so.
Kim, it's important to note, we had never ran more than a 5K.
Yeah. Anybody who can run a marathon, I mean, I have so much respect for. It's just, and these people who just decide on, you know, a wine whim that they're going to do it is amazing to me. The support had to be amazing. And I know, Stephanie, you were pretty young at the time, and I think maybe in school or something. And
Yeah, I was currently in school and I was playing college basketball, but I still went and cheered them on. And I said I was going to join them, you know, when I was out and when I could for the next one. So
Actually, I have to just promote here, Kim.
yeah.
Stephanie is now this year running the Chicago Marathon after running Boston. So she's coming up to us. She'll be running
That's
in
amazing.
2023, and we're going to be cheering her on. We're not joining this time.
yeah.
Now they're
I'm trying
cheering
to catch
on.
up to these guys. I had originally signed up to run for 2020, and then COVID happened,
Excuse me.
and I was
Yeah.
going to run for Team Bright Pink. And then during that time, they were acquired by Dana-Farber. But now, yeah, I'm running this year, so I'm really excited.
Great. So I think you used the Chicago Marathon as something to kind of, like you said, you know, if I can do this, then I can confidently, well, like there's like nothing you can't do once you power through something like that. Am I right?
Yeah, I will share that in the morning at the Chicago Marathon at the starting line, I was standing next to Vanessa and I started to get really misty-eyed, and you know, all of the people are around you. My friends were with us. We were all together, and I started to cry out loud, and I was like, the real finish line's still waiting for me. It's coming. And everybody was like, I know. We were all really emotional. And the thing that I'll say is I'm emotional now because I know Vanessa she's in a couple of weeks is having her mastectomy, and we just ran Boston together. And the thing that I'll say is that we're skipping ahead for everybody that's been following along chronologically. But Vanessa it was like we were running together for a reason. And Vanessa ended up testing positive. And Vanessa, you should tell the story of when you became empowered to test. But I'll say that the feeling of knowing that if I can do this, I can do anything is great. But it's also something that having a mastectomy, a lot of people quickly say like, oh, I would do that in a heartbeat if I found out I was high risk. But it's deeply emotional. And there's so much that you are essentially amputating a part of your body in order to find freedom, in order to feel empowered by your health. And it is such a brave and courageous decision. And I'm so proud that Vanessa is stepping in that direction too, because it is not easy to elect to do that, knowing that, you know, you don't want to roll the dice, knowing how high the percentage of risk is in your lifetime. But Vanessa has chosen to say, like, I want to feel free, and she's going to soon.
Yeah. Vanessa, when did you find out about your positive results?
I think it was 2017. And then shortly after that, we decided we were going to run the New York City Marathon. We just kept the train going. So it's kind of like our thing is, you know, we find out these decisions and make empowering choices and run marathons.
Yeah. So it just goes to show your strength and just the unity between you guys is just is amazing. You all support one another. So so you find out that you have it as well. And what were the next steps for you, Vanessa, after that? I mean, it's a few years later now. Has it been all that time until you made the decision?
Yeah, so in between when I found out and now, I've just been doing surveillance. So before 30 years old, it's a yearly MRI. And so I've just been doing that every fall. And then I got married I was supposed to get married in 2020, and then we had to postpone, so we got married in 2021. So I feel like the timeline of things just kept getting pushed back and back and back. So all elective surgeries were off the table for everybody. So last spring is when we started to go to, my husband and I went to Brigham and Women's to like talk to surgeons and see like when we could get in. And like the earliest we could do is this spring, which is now 2 weeks away.
Okay. So yeah, so I know that you made this decision to then run Boston, and you ran for Dana-Farber.
Yep.
Right, because you're all champions of Dana-Farber now, which I think is amazing. And we should note that your father is also a patient there, right?
Yes.
He's doing well.
Yeah, so our dad has a rare liver cancer. It's a carcinoid tumor, which he can live a full life with, but he has to have, because of the treatment that he's having monthly at Dana-Farber. So they've been pioneers for this treatment that's keeping him not only alive but thriving. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so you just added to the mix. Everybody's been a patient at Dana-Farber, but also the year that after we ran New York, Steph actually said, "I'm ready to get tested."
So let's talk about that experience.
Yeah, so when I decided I was ready, I actually brought Kristina along with me for genetic counseling and testing, because I knew that there was going to be a lot of questions, and it's always good, you know, when you do decide that you're ready to, if you're able to have someone with you, just having that extra set of ears, it was super helpful, because Kristina was pretty much, I'd look to her to ask all the right questions and to remember, and because it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, first time kind of experiencing that. And being the last in my family to undergo, you know, this experience, and, you know, going into it knowing both of my sisters are positive, my mother was positive, and both of her sisters, I was kind of expecting that I was going to be positive regardless, that knowing that I had a 50-50 chance. So we asked questions of what is the protocol if I'm negative, because I knew that if I tested positive, that, you know, I had the support of my sisters, and that, you know, I already have these role models that, you know, I know I'm not going to be alone. I know I'm going to be supported. I kind of know what to do. And so the questions that we asked were, you know, what happens if I am negative? And I found out, I think a week after I tested, that I tested negative. And it came just with complete shock.
And probably a lot of emotion, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I, to this day, still thinking about it, I'm like, you know, why me? You know, how? But, you know, what that means for testing negative is that I fall under the general population for when this testing and surveillance, you know, which is the age of 40. So that's when, you know, I would have to start, you know, my regular mammograms. And if I had tested positive, like Kristina said, when she was 25, when she tested, that's if I tested positive at 25, that's when the surveillance and the mammograms would have started.
So let me ask you, there's a lot of, like I was saying, probably a lot of emotion. And like you said, why me? Somewhat of like a survivor's guilt almost.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I immediately felt, you know, just, you know, that why me, you know, why I felt like I was handed, you know, this card that, this get out of jail free card, I call it, that you know, why do I not have to go through what, you know, my sisters are going through? And it becomes even more real as they're making these decisions. Like this year, it was such a pivotal year with Kristina finishing her, you know, final surgery at Dana-Farber. And now Vanessa, not, you know, this isn't her first time being a patient, but, you know, starting her surgeries. And the biggest thing, making that decision to run alongside them, is one way that I felt like I could support them, and raising funds is, you know, to support them. And, you know, it's so meaningful to our entire family, having all gone through and been patients at Dana-Farber. But it just makes my purpose more to be the best listener, the best supporter, and the way that I can show up for my sisters. in any way I can. I'm
And she's
their
done an
biggest
amazing
cheerleader. They
job.
know I'm there. What?
You've done an amazing job doing that. Like that's you. And I just want to say that when like the why not me has always been because we want less of us always
Yeah.
to test positive. And it was actually really nice to see Stephanie test negative because it showed us that it is 50-50. You just, every single
Right.
time you're born, it was so relieving to see like it wasn't going to hit everybody like it did the previous generation before. And as I know Vanessa is, and I speak on behalf of both of us when I say we were so relieved and happy.
Yeah. And the day that you did the marathon together this year, this was the first time that the three of you ran together. You have it all documented. I know that, the highlight reel that was out there on social media is just a piece of it. But can you talk a little bit about what that felt like to finish together?
Geez, we're all silent. We're all like,
Well, I can say that we did not stop talking about it, and we were joking like this marathon has now become our entire personality because we just keep reliving the day over and over and over again. We certainly bought all of the gear at the expo to show everybody that.
I actually don't think I've ever. This is like one of the first time I'm wearing normal clothes, not Boston Marathon attire.
I was like,
one of the first things
not acceptable to wear a medal out in public.
Yeah. First thing I said to my husband, I was like, I want to be buried in this. I was like, what I'm going to be in.
Yeah, that's such an amazing day here in Boston. Actually, the whole weekend, leading up to it, I love walking around downtown and just seeing everybody getting prepped for it. I mean, I see people who are going to run the next day or out there taking pictures. And I always think like, I'd be in bed right now if I knew I was running this thing tomorrow, but
Oh my gosh,
it's such a good vibe around.
Kim, we have to tell you though, when we made the decision, it was similar to the wine night experience of Chicago. This was not something that was deeply planned, like a life mission. And we weren't. So Vanessa, why don't you talk about how this all came about, how funny it was when we decided to run Boston?
Sure. I think it was like around September, the beginning of the school year. Stephanie and I are both teachers. And I remember like getting snippets of things on social media of different organizations like saying to apply for their team. And I knew in the back of my mind that I was having surgery. And I don't think at that time a date was solidified, but it was like kind of known that it would be in the late spring. And so I was like, okay, doing the math, like, yep, the Boston Marathon's in April. We could go to London because we really want the Abbott medal, but being able to like run in Boston was kind of like, well, Kristina's having the surgery. I don't know if she's going to be down for this. Is this not enough time for you to like recover from her complete hysterectomy? Is this insane? So I just called her and I was like, hey, like, I'm thinking, like, I can't stop thinking about that right on Harvard, left on Boylston. That's emotional every time I think of it.
I know, it's so funny. I'm laughing at you because I know how emotional you were. So she said it to me and I was like, you're not going to believe this. But I actually was just looking for myself and applying that I'm going to apply to Dana-Farber. And she was like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I just feel, and I feel it like I need to. And now that you're saying it, I feel like I definitely need to. And then Vanessa was making the comment. She was like, but can you even do that with your surgery? And so I had a complete hysterectomy on October 3rd, 2022.
Right.
So I literally had my old school planner out, like my paper planner, and I'm counting like, okay, I have 8 weeks of recovery. And then let me count. I have to train for 20 weeks for the marathon. Okay. Oh my gosh, there's 28 weeks exactly from my surgical date to the marathon. Literally like Monday to Monday was 28 weeks. And I was like, I'm in. And like our dad, everyone was like, are you out of your mind? My husband didn't even say anything. He just knew. He was like, okay, she's doing it again.
Can't stop these women.
No,
so Vanessa, when is your surgery?
Friday, June 2nd.
June 2nd.
Yep.
So coming up.
Yeah. I just had my pre-op last week. Everything looks good. We've got our plan. So
great.
Good.
Well, you have quite a team on your side here. And I'm sure all of the friends that you've made through your journey as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely really, really well supported. So we
Yeah.
actually just did a little mini celebration over the weekend. These guys surprised me with a cooking night. And I was like totally shocked, like just had like some of my closest friends and family, which was
I was a good liar for the surprise, told her I was going out, and Kim, you would have laughed. It was so funny. Vanessa walked by the place where we were doing the cooking class, and
Get
she
out.
saw me in the window, and she was like, "Oh, that girl looks just like my sister," and kept like moving forward.
Kept walking.
I was like, "Oh my God, she made eye contact with me. Oh my God." And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, what? And I was like, wow, that wasn't as, but I'm so anxious during surprises. I was so nervous. It was so funny. But yeah, we celebrated Vanessa, and we're really excited for her to wake up and say, I'm free.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got quite the support team here. You ladies are amazing in everything that you do. You're so inspiring. And I think each one of us has welled up just a little bit in this conversation. You definitely have me too. And I'm rooting for you, and I would love to reconnect, in 6 months or something, and see how everybody's doing.
Great. Would love that, Kim. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah.
And we know that we just want your listeners to know one thing: if they're going to be bold and make good decisions for themselves, is that you're in charge of your health. You're the driver of your health. So feel empowered to make positive decisions. And if you're scared along the way or need somebody to reach out to, all three of us are people that you can find on Instagram. We're open to chatting with anyone at any time. And we sincerely mean that you can come find us, talk to us, send us a DM, let us know. And we're always happy to just navigate you and help you in the right direction.
That's beautiful. You've created a little tribe, right? To kind of like lean on each other and help each other, because some people are at the beginning of this journey and you have so much knowledge. And I will say, Kristina, I've spent some time speaking with you and everything. And I'm like, you speak as if you're a doctor at Dana-Farber. Like,
Yeah. Listen, Kim, this is like the worst club to be in, but we have the best members. We say it all the time. So I feel as though we've all grown up in oncology units, unfortunately, and we just learned really quickly that you just have to stay composed and know that you're in charge. And that's the most important thing. And it feels really good when you are in charge and you don't feel like I think we're all a little type A. I know I'm, out of the three of us, the most type A. And I would say that it feels really good to know that we're not blindsided by our health. It's something that empowers us.
Yeah. And that's the biggest takeaway that I can say that I am picking up on from you guys is to educate and empower yourself by, doing the research and being your own advocate for your health.
Yeah, it's something that seems scary because it's cancer, but at the same time, your health doesn't have to be scary. Just take it step by step and you'll find a way. It's really something that all three of us still smile, still have fun. I joke all the time that, like, if you're curious and you're the type of person that you're facing a mastectomy, I'll send you pictures. I'll let you know. I'll tell you how my life's gone because of them. I mean, I feel like my life has gotten so much better now that I'm not worried or obsessing or anxious anymore. I feel like I have a new lease on life. I know Vanessa's getting, like, she's so close to that too, because that feeling leading up to your decisions is terrible. But at the same time, once you go beyond it, you get through it and you keep going.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Boston
you.
next year, or are we going to like London or Tokyo or someplace else to run next year?
I hope to volunteer for Dana-Farber.
Well, all three of us I know will be involved with. I'm speaking on behalf of all of us. I know all, like, we're in for Dana-Farber to definitely volunteer. The goal is to get that Abbott medal. So we still have London, Berlin, and Tokyo, and Steph has Chicago and New York.
Okay. Yeah,
but we're gonna do it.
I believe it. Not one doubt.
Going to Japan, Kim?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm feeling a bit inspired, but I don't know if it's that inspired.
I know.
Yeah, we can adopt you as a fourth sister.
Running has just been something that, like, I love to work out, but running, like I said, I just applaud. I'm in awe of people who do it, and
You just got to get drunk with us and we'll
there
get
you
you.
go.
We'll get you to sign up.
That's the first step.
Bad things
Couple glasses of
happen.
wine and we'll have you signed up and no problem.
I know.
Liquid
Like,
courage.
wait, what am I doing?
Kim's like, no, I'm not going out for drinks with you.
Yeah, never.
Actually, I really would love to. So whenever we can make that happen, let's do it. And Vanessa, sending so much love to you and your upcoming surgery. And ladies, again, thank you for joining me on this podcast and sharing your stories. You're beautiful. Love to all of you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kim.
So thank you so much.
I'm just
Have a
going to
good
end the podcast there. I have